It's that time, man. It's that time to talk about Breath of the Wild. It really is, man. It is really that time to say what I have to say about it. Now, this isn't a new take or anything because I think this is something that it's been echoed a lot in the community. I don't think it's the majority that feel this way, but there are definitely a chunk of the definitely agrees to what I'm going about to talk about. That is how Breath of the Wild isn't as nearly as good as people make it out to be. Came out. I think that the honeymoon phase is over, and that there's more people now speaking about how this game. There's a lot of it lacking in terms of just being a Zelda game. And while I don't think that everyone feels that way, and totally respect if you feel that way, genuinely. If you're watching this video right now and you don't agree with what I'm saying, I don't blame you. And honestly, I'm jealous. And at first, I honestly thought that I was the one in the wrong. I thought I was the one that was being weird, you know. Um, but as time went on, I felt that less and less as more people came out, whether it be my friends or people that were like social people that I follow on social media, like not social. What am I saying? Like Twitch and YouTube, people that I like watching. You know, they started feeling the same way that I did. Um, and not all of them feel this way. I think it's good to have varying degrees of opinions and stuff like this. But I personally thought that this game was a solid game on its own, but as a Zelda game, it was disappointing. And we'll talk about that in all the details. But before we do that, let me just say that I am a huge Zelda fan. Keep in mind that I'm a huge Zelda fan. I'm not like some Joe Schmo that's played like one or two Zeldas, or this was my first one or anything. I didn't just play Ocarina, the most popular one. I didn't do that growing up. So I just want to show you guys that I have played, a lot of Zelda. These aren't even all the games I own. I have to go find them. This is what I found in the span of like 2 minutes. Most of them include the mainline games. A few spin-off ones like Four Swords here. So, I've played a lot. There's a lot of DS games you could probably see on my shelf to my right here. There's a DS, 3DS. My GBA games are hidden over there. I've played a lot of Zelda. A lot. I've pretty much played almost every Zelda. Other than Breath of the Wild, though, I will mention that the only other Zelda games I didn't like was Zelda 2. That one was pretty polarizing even to this day. I don't think anyone really mentions Zelda 2 as a good game. No one talks about that Zelda. Or this one's kind of not. I mean, it's kind of controversial to say. Skyward Sword. I didn't like Skyward Sword. I just didn't like it. I think that the game visually was gorgeous, and I will say for that game, it has my favorite iteration of Zelda that I've seen. And out of all the Zeldas that I've ever, I just love her personality in that game and her design. Holy shit, Zelda in that game is waifu material all day long. And also the new Link to the Past version of Zelda from like Smash. That one's a pretty good one. Well, we're not talking about waifus here. We're talking about Zelda. We're talking about Breath of the Wild. Okay, so Breath of the Wild. What did I not like about Breath of the Wild? But also, another thing I want to mention too. I know it's a mess. I'm not gonna just destroy Breath of the Wild. We're also gonna talk about Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, and the stuff that I'm mentioning now can be fixed in the sequel and essentially make the best goddamn game ever made if they fix these problems that I personally have a problem with. And I think that they're legitimate. I think they're legitimate complaints. They're not just me shitting on the game. There's just things that I just didn't like about it, and I think a lot of this echoed through a lot of the other people that feel the same way. So let's talk about it. Enemy variety. Just I feel like I'm fighting was it Bobakins? Bobokin? I don't remember. I don't even know. Whatever. The goblins, the lizards, and I'm just fighting the same three enemy types. And I understand when you have a game and you're making enemies, I think it's perfectly fine to reuse the base grunt in the game. That's fine because it's a natural progression, right? You introduce the basic bitch ones, and then you fully add more challenging adversaries as the game rolls on, and then maybe bring them back just to add more of a challenge or spice them up with like a new thing. And while they do that to some degree with these enemies, it just feels like you're just fighting like 80% of the enemies in this game are those specific ones. And while there are some cool ones, like for example, when you go to Gerudo Valley and you fight like the, I forgot the name, but like the worm desert worm thing that comes out that's only to that region specific enemy, that mini boss. That was really cool. There wasn't enough of that. And there doesn't, and definitely not enough enemies from like iconic Zelda games. There isn't like, you know, likes or redeads or wall masters. I mean, I guess wall masters make sense because there's literally no dungeons in this game. Yeah, we're gonna talk about the dungeons. I don't know, man. I just don't think this game has it in terms of enemy variety. Which again, fixing the sequel, hopefully. Let's talk about the other thing that I just mentioned. The dungeons. I don't understand how anyone could look at me in the eye and legitimately tell me that these dungeons are like anywhere as good as the previous Zelda games. Now, some of the stuff I'm about to mention, some people will be like, well, what do you mean? This is part of the previous Zelda game. No, it's not, boo-boo. It's not, dude. Okay, Yogi Bear, it's not. Listen to me. They are bland, they are short, and they are too easy. Now, that last one, I know some people will be like, but Zelda's always been easy. What do you mean, bro? Like, look, I'm not saying that these games are challenging, very challenging games. At least most of them. They're not. But at the very least, they were interesting and well designed. This just kind of feels like a 4-year-old went into Minecraft and just put stuff. Now, I know this is kind of, see, this is the problem. I'm kind of joking, which is kind of why it's kind of hard to really critique this game seriously. But like, come on, like the dungeons themselves just, they're really simple in design in terms of just visually and just how they work. Here's the problem with the thing, and I understand this was, I know some people are gonna be like, that's just the nature of the game and it's how it's made, and I get that. And the fact that they give you all the tools at the beginning of the game, which, you know, that pretty much kills off any sort of excitement of like, you're gonna find a new item that's gonna help you solve different puzzles or quests or whatever. That's pretty much gone. You have everything in the beginning. And while I understand that was something they had to think about going into this and heavily consider, that doesn't change the fact that the dungeons are still basic as heck and boring in every way possible. And there's only 4 of them. They couldn't even be bothered to make these things big, multiple big dungeons that were basic and boring. We only got 4 of them. And while you might say, wait a minute, Riku, your favorite game of all time, Majora's Mask, had 4 of them as well. And while I will agree with you, it had the same number, at the very least, these were very well designed. They fit the region that they were in aesthetically, and they had a lot of interesting concepts in them as well. But at least for also this game, they had really cool bosses, and everything surrounding getting into the dungeon was interesting. There's nothing interesting about what you were doing in Breath of the Wild with the dungeons themselves. There just wasn't, at least to me anyway. And then let's get to, speaking of bosses, let's talk about the bosses of those games. They're so forgettable, dude. And I'm not going to say they're copy and pasted because they're not copy and pasted. They are different enough in terms of how they act and what weapon they have. But they're pretty much the same Ganon Beast Fiend. Well, I forgot what the name is called. Same Ganon variant that we fight through every single dungeon, even and the final version of Ganon. And they just, I couldn't even recall to you what they were called and like what they did, because they were all the same pretty much. They didn't feel that different. That kind of bleeds into the final fight with Ganon. The first form of Ganon was kind of cool. I was just like, oh, this is kind of neat. And then you actually fight Ganon, like the boar form that everyone knows, you know Ganondorf, and then there's also Ganon, his form thing. I will say the build up to that fight was really good. It gave me goosebumps when Zelda's like, Link, you must defeat him. Link! Talk about the voice acting in a second. Link, you must defeat him. And then you like get on the horse then like, it's like that music that builds up. I was getting goosebumps. I was like, woo, this is getting sick, right? I was all fucking hyped up and shit. I was like drinking caffeine. I was like, oh my god, this is so exciting. And then you actually get into the fight, and you're on the horseback, and you're just sitting there till Zelda's like, Link, shoot the circle. And you do that for like a few times, and it just kneels over and it's dead. It's so uninteresting, man. You have to actually try to get hit to get hit by Ganon. Like, it's just like, really? That's so fucking lame, dude. That was such a disappointment. Oh man. But what else? What else is there, dude? um, the music of this game. One of the things I love about Zelda is the music that's played throughout the entirety of the series. There's a lot of songs that have come out from multiple Zelda games that I've played that really sticks with me. I think some of the more iconic ones is obviously like Song of Storms. I don't know if this one's really that iconic. I mean, it's iconic enough. I mean, Song of Healing is probably one of my favorite Zelda themes ever. The Clock Town theme, the Dragon Root Isle. And while I will say that there's some of those songs even come back in this game and they sound really good, um, there isn't enough songs in this and enough of it being played throughout your playtime that really has made an impact with me as someone who loves Zelda. There's like Rito Village, there's the main theme, there's the Goron theme. There like this. I'm just saying, like all the town themes are really good, and some of the ones that are played through like some of the cutscenes and whatnot. Those are superb. One of my favorite ones. My favorite rendition is like the Hyrule Castle theme. So good. It's so fun. But that's only played like 10% of the game. The other like 90% is you just listening to background noise. And while some people will say, but Riku, that's just part of the experience. That's just you exploring the world. That's the feeling they were going for. This post-apocalyptic thing with Ganon, and it's all sad and stuff. And while I do agree it fits the game, definitely, I will give you that. It fits it. But it doesn't change the fact that it doesn't have any music that's just like it stands out. That, you know what I mean? Like there's just nothing there that really blows my mind and makes me that much more engaged. That's just how I feel. I get that it fits the way that the game is structured, and I think that definitely if you've played, the game long enough and you've got the same song being played for like 40 hours, you're gonna hate on it. I get that. Doesn't change the fact that there's not enough. I don't care. I'm just gonna say I don't care. That's just how I feel. I don't know. A lot of the songs that are played just don't really mesh with me. And by songs, I mean just the background noise. What did I talk about? Should we talk about enemy variety, the dungeons, the bosses, music? Oh, the voice acting. The voice acting in this game is atrocious. I'll make this short and simple. I don't understand how Nintendo can be one of the biggest developers out there, but not put enough effort into making actual good voice acting. Like they put so much care into like the look of their games, the music, the gameplay, just making the game run well, which is a rarity these days. Like the performance of the games, all of that is super important to them. But for whatever reason, when it comes to voice acting, they're a mixed bag. Sometimes they do a pretty solid job, and then others, it's atrocious. And I had to play this whole game in Japanese because I couldn't stand listening to Zelda, or I forgot his name, that I didn't like his character anyway. The Goron guy, the Goron, sorry, the guy that's really like scared. Didn't like his voice. His voice, I hated it. I hated his voice. So it's bad. Oh, and another thing I want to talk about, the story. I almost forgot that because it was pretty much non-existent. But the story of this game is just not there. There's just no story. There, you might say like, oh, yeah, but we mean Zelda locked you away for like 100 years. Yeah, okay, cool. That's just a setup of the game. That doesn't really do anything for me. Story just like it's not there. And if you go out of your way to find it, there's not much of it there to really be like, this is a good story. It's just like it's basic bitch Zelda stuff, which that's as you can say that's like a trope with the series, which you always have to slay Ganon, or for the most part, a version of Ganon or something, or like some guy trying to resurrect Ganon or do something as evil as him. But for the most part, at least in those games, there's a lot of interesting stuff, like really fun characters that you can interact with. There's like some cool reveals here and there. Maybe some backstory, like the world, why the world, the way the world is in each individual Zelda game. Like that's what makes it cool, and how you actually get there to the end. This game is just like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. Oh, another thing too, the weapon degradation system. It's too much. It needed to be toned down. And yeah, that's. I know that. Look, I understand. I've knocked on the game and critiqued it a lot, but you have to understand that I'm a big Zelda fan, man. I love Zelda, I really do. And this game just wasn't doing it for me. And honestly, I thought I was the weird one, because I was just like, man, I see all these people giving it like Game of the Year and just like going crazy over it and saying it's the best game ever made, best Zelda game ever. And I'm just sitting there like, no, it's not, dude. What the heck is this? It's a good game, but goddamn, you guys are just no. And I think I'm gonna say this the same thing with like Skyward Sword. I think it just, because it's got the name Zelda attached to it and it's a mainline game, that people are clamoring over it. They're kind of accepting mediocrity because, oh man, maybe I'm just overthinking it, but god damn it, I just don't think this game is anywhere near as good as it could have been. And now we're gonna segue to Breath of the Wild 2. Why I'm really excited. Now I know this is gonna sound surprising to some of you, like, wow, this guy really hates Breath of the Wild. He just spent here 10 minutes just rambling about how this game sucks. It doesn't suck. It's just it sucks as a Zelda game. Big difference. It's a solid game on its own, but it's not a good Zelda game in my opinion, in the way that I was structuring everything that I was mentioning. So, Breath of the Wild 2. Saw the trailer, and I know the comparison that people are making a lot is like the Ocarina and Majora's Mask. They're really, people are really going crazy that it's like, oh my god, this is the Majora's Mask Breath of the Wild. And it's just like, I think what was his name? Alnuma. Sorry. The he came out and said that this is not any relation to Majora's Mask. But it's actually darker than Majora's Mask. And when I heard those words being spoken, and read that article, I was just like, oh my god, my eyes, I was so excited. I was just like, really? Oh my god, dude. I think I mentioned this earlier in the video, but like, my favorite Zelda is Majora's Mask. I've played this game so much growing up, and it might be nostalgia, but it still is my favorite Zelda. It still is my favorite Zelda. I just can't let it go for the life of me. Everything about this game, it makes me feel something, man. It's gets me emotional. Oh, it's so good, man. It's so fucking good. But like, Breath of the Wild 2, it looks super dark. Like, we saw a corpse, his neck snaps, just the heartbeats, the really strange eerie music, just the entirety of that trailer. Just, oh, I was so excited. This is after imagine seeing that right after watching the Banjo reveal, man. Oh my god, dude, I lost my I love Banjo, but we're not getting off track. The point is, the trailer, oh my god, it looks so good. And all the stuff that I mentioned, if they manage to fix everything that I had a problem with, I think I could definitely see it being at least in my top 3 Zelda games of all time. Because I think what Nintendo had going for the foundation, like the physics engine, the world, art style, everything was there. They just needed to fill the world with a little bit more, not a little bit, a lot. They just needed to fill the world with a lot more music, or like really interesting side quest stuff, because I really missed the heart container stuff. The thing is that like, oh, here's another thing too I wanted to talk about before I wrap up. The shrines themselves, they're kind of cool, but they're really simple and not that interesting. I rather have them take away all that shrine stuff and then actually bring back heart containers and actually have meaningful side quests and mini games like they did with the previous Zelda games. But they can do that and fill the world with like really interesting stuff to do, and not just that too. Maybe have like, not like masks, but like have like important items to solve other side. I'm just saying, there's a lot of stuff they could do with the game. I don't know what they're planning to do, but if they can actually have a story, if they can actually fill the world with meaningful side quests, if they can, you know, legitimately have dungeons, like full-fledged dungeons in this game that you can discover at any point in time, just cool gadgets, like, and actually have a Dark Zelda again, because I love Dark Zelda games. I love Majora's Mask. I love Twilight. You know, if they can just bring that back and improve on everything that I mentioned here, I legitimately think this will be the best Zelda game ever made. And that's why I'm excited. That's why I'm really excited for Breath of the Wild 2. I really am excited about it because I feel like they can really do it. They have the foundation. They just need to build on it. And that's why I didn't really enjoy the first game. I felt like it was just the start of what they could have done. I know they spent 5 years on it, and what they have there is amazing. Too. Wasn't enough of it. And that's why I'm excited for Breath of the Wild 2. If they can make it like this game, I will legitimately lose my shit. I have no idea. But yeah, I wanted to end on a positive note. I know a lot of people are gonna. There's a lot of really hardcore Zelda fans that are just gonna be like, "Riku, you're a dumbass, bro." But that's just what I feel. I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. What do you guys think? Do you think that I'm just wrong? Please let me know. I've heard that already before about this opinion about Zelda. But let me know, dude. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you think Breath of the Wild wasn't as good as people said it was? Are you excited for Breath of the Wild 2? Heck, what about Nintendo? You guys have anything that's exciting coming up? I'm really excited about Fire Emblem Three Houses. That looks really good. Astral Chain, not even Nintendo. Death Stranding. Oh, there's a lot of stuff I'm excited about. But yeah, just let me know. Let me know. Follow me on Twitter, Dr. Riku. There's also my Twitch. The Discord. My Discord's open if you want to come talk. And yeah, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to say. Thank you guys for listening to start to finish if you did. But yeah, I'm signing out. Thank you guys for watching. Peace, friends.